Welcome back. I am Jessica Johnson Hewitt, and this is my YouTube channel, R.A.P.E, Recovering Abuse Physically and Emotionally. This week we will start talking about the specifics of different sexual traumas. Each sexual trauma takes on a different shape and has different definitions. This week we'll be exploring childhood sexual abuse. Each week, we will begin our video with a little bit of education. I'll talk to you about the definitions and some statistics involving each particular trauma. Towards the latter part of the session, we will have testimony, both from myself and from you as audience members. We will communicate our experiences so that we are not only educating, but we're empowering each other. The thought of I know how you feel is going to be a reality as we start communicating in the comments about our own experiences and validating one another. Please don't feel any shame or doubt, and I know that's easier said than done. But each week we'll be talking about topics that may make you have a different mindset. Not so much a victim mindset, but a mindset of a survivor. So join me as we begin our series on sexual traumas and the specifics and definitions of those traumas. This week, we're talking about childhood sexual abuse. Childhood sexual abuse is any sexual act with an individual under the age of 18. Minors are not allowed to give consent. Therefore, childhood sexual abuse occurs whenever a sex act or activity is exposed or imposed on a child. This includes exposing someone's self, fondling, sexual intercourse, masturbation in front of or the demand of masturbation from the child, obscene conversations, phone calls, and messages to a minor, producing, owning, or sharing pornographic images or movies of children, sex with anyone, either vaginal or anal or oral, sex trafficking, and any other contact of a sexual nature that can be considered a crime. So you might be wondering, when things like this take place, who are the typical perpetrators? Some of you might have grown up with a myth that perpetrators are people we don't know, strangers to us, nobody in our close proximity. Well, that is a myth. Most perpetrators are known by the victim. As many of 93% of victims under the age of 18 know their abuser. So you might be wondering, what happens? Why do people stay quiet? Well, sometimes they're intimidated, coerced, threatened, or even hurt physically in order to keep such things a secret. Well, childhood sexual abuse, 1 in every 3 girls, 1 in every 6 boys. How can you protect your child or someone you know from being a victim of sexual abuse? Educating individuals on how to be anti-victims is very important. Teaching your child simple things like what I'm about to show you can help your child distinguish between good touches and bad touches. This is an activity I like to do when I am speaking to large groups of various individuals. I tell individuals to stand up just like I've done and to cross their arms over their chest if they are a girl. These are your private parts. After the people recognize that I'm addressing the chest area, they can understand that that area is not to be touched. And if it is touched by someone else, that they have the right to tell, know, and to tell. I have people widen their arms again and bring them down in front. For boys and girls, this is your private part. No one has the right to touch your private part in an inappropriate manner. This demonstration lets children know exactly where touches should not occur. I ask the audience to widen their arms again, this time going behind and down. For boys and girls, this is a private part. No one should be allowed to touch this part of your body without your consent. You are a child, so you cannot consent. So no one has the right to impose themselves on you. By simply doing this, you can teach your children or others you know one step in becoming anti-victims. You might be wondering, well, how do I know if someone I love or someone I know or if I myself have been abused? Well, there are physical signs to abuse. Many times there is bleeding or bruising or swelling in the genital area. There is also bloody, torn undergarments that are very common. Some people may have difficulty sitting or walking after their assault or abuse. Frequent urination and yeast infections in children. Pain, itching, or burning in the anal or genital area. Those are just some of the physical signs. Well, let's talk about the behavioral signs. What might you be seeing demonstrated that brings up a red flag or a warning sign for you? Well, changes in hygiene, especially someone who excessively bathes or showers or refuses to bathe or shower, is something that could raise a red flag. Developing phobias, fears out of nowhere, all of a sudden onset. Exhibits of depression, which include hopelessness, helplessness, emotional outbursts, fatigue, difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating, crying in excess, sadness, suicidal ideation, or suicidal attempts are all signs of depression. Post-traumatic stress disorder looks slightly different. After a child or an individual has been traumatized, they sometimes have intrusive thoughts, hypervigilance. They also sometimes um, have nightmares, or they avoid external stimuli, or they avoid seeing sexual acts or any forms of intimacy make them uncomfortable. Any child that does inappropriate sexual behaviors often or has an excessive amount of sexual knowledge at an inappropriate age could be a red flag. Nightmares or bedwetting could be a red flag. Overly protective or concern for a sibling could be a red flag that something is occurring with them and they don't want that to occur to their sibling. Regressive behaviors, i.e., like sucking your thumb, or as we mentioned, a regression to bedwetting could also be red flags. When a child runs away from home or school. Also, when children begin to self-harm or self-mutilate, this could include cutting behaviors. Also, children who go from being affectionate to shrinking away or being threatened or uncomfortable with physical contact. If these are signs that you see in a child, please don't hesitate to report. As a mental health provider and a previous educator, I have a duty to report when I see signs or warning signs of sexual abuse or any child abuse. That is not always the case when the person is in your family. While you don't have a duty to report or an obligation, I think if you see these signs and you are concerned, that you make an attempt to make and ensure that that child is safe. If you need help or someone to talk to anonymously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can dial 1 800 4A Child. That is 1 800, the number 4A Child. There are also support groups and websites for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. If you need someone to talk to who is trained and you are an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse, dial 1 800 656 HOPE. That is 1 800 656 HOPE. As we shift from education to empowerment, I would like to share some of my testimony. I was a victim, but I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. My parents divorced at an early age, and at the age of 5, my dad met a woman who also had children. My mom was my primary caregiver, but every other weekend, the courts required my brother and I to go to my dad's house. Well, around the age of 5, when he met this woman, we began spending time as a family unit at either of their places. My dad allowed my brother and I to sleep in the same room with her youngest child, who was 12, her oldest child at that time being 16. I was 5. My brother is a little over 2 years older than me, and my soon-to-be stepbrother was 12. At the age of 5, he began to abuse me sexually. This included fondling, molestation, sodomy, which is anal rape, and oral rape. I would be awakened from my sleep in the middle of the night with my head pressed down on a pillow so I couldn't be heard or the sounds couldn't be heard. I would wake up with his private parts in my mouth. I would wake up being stimulated sexually before I even knew what sexuality was really all about. This took place every other weekend for multiple years. Around the age of 11, my mom and her new husband decided that they would be foster parents, I'm sorry. So I began having foster siblings at the age of 8. One of my foster siblings had been through abuse, and she was the first person I ever vocally told that I experienced something similar to what she experienced. Well, one day my parents had a foster parent convention to go to, so my biological dad and his wife offered my mom the services of her son Vernon. So he came over to my mom's house to watch us, the foster kids, while they went to a convention, unknowingly that I had been abused by this individual. Well, while he was at my house, I was taking a bath, and he came into the bathroom and watched me bathe. This experience made me feel very uncomfortable, and when I went back into my room, I told my foster sister what had taken place. She told me that I needed to tell my mom. I was very hesitant to mention this at all, so I kept it a secret. The next Monday, which that happened on a Saturday, so just 2 days later, I was taking a bath in my mom's bathroom. Well, she had the nice jacuzzi tub with the whirlpool, so I used to love taking a bath in her bathroom. Well, while I was bathing, she opened the door to put some laundry away, and I became uncontrollably emotional. This was a red flag to my mom, and she wanted to know why I was so upset. She, having gone through foster parenting classes, asked specific questions to find out if I had been traumatized in some way. That night, when I was 11 years old, I first told an adult about what took place from the age of 5 to the age that I was at that day. The next day, my mom took me to Children Protective Services, and we filed a police report. I went to my pediatrician and got checked out, and almost immediately, my mom began allowing me to have therapeutic intervention. I was able to start counseling very soon thereafter, and later on, I was able to also have the psychiatric needs that accompanied the type of trauma that I had experienced. I'm saying all this to help you know that you are not the only person who has experienced childhood sexual abuse. It is very traumatic, and you have to have the courage to heal. But I want you to know that you are not alone. I want you to know that your experience, while it might not mirror mine, is also a representation of what you experienced. I can now see that God wasted nothing with my pain in this area. He's using me as a vehicle and a vessel to help others who have experienced this. Having experienced childhood sexual abuse does not define me, but it does allow me purpose. I encourage and empower you to share your story with individuals you feel comfortable with. If you would like to reach out to me, please comment. Please leave messages. Please use the email address Sexual Trauma Survivor if you would like to be a guest on the show and talk about your traumatic experience. We are here together because we are resilient. We can get through this journey together. I am here to help. The YouTube channel R.A.P.E, Recovering Abuse Physically and Emotionally, is here to help. I want to make an impact on as many people as I can through sharing my education and my testimony, using my knowledge and my skills to both educate and empower others who have been traumatized similar to me. This is our second episode, and we'll be diving into many more issues each and every week. Please stay encouraged. At the end of every episode, I am going to let you guys know a little bit about how I cope. So one of the coping skills, one of the skills that I've developed to make myself feel better when my trauma is impacting me is to listen to music. So I have a playlist for every emotion I might be feeling. I have the happy playlist, the In My Feelings playlist, the Boss B playlist, the playlist of all the rap music that I love and all the country that I love, and all of these different things are used as coping skills when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I will encourage you to please adapt some coping skills. Think about what makes you feel good when you are upset and use those skills to get through each and every day as you walk this journey. I will see you next time on our next episode as we dive more into the specifics of sexual trauma. This is Jessica Johnson Hewitt, and this is my YouTube channel, R.A.P.E, Recovering Abuse Physically and Emotionally. I would like to make a special shout out to all my survivors of childhood sexual abuse. I would empower you to inform others, encourage awareness, prevention, and intervention. Thank you and have a great day.